Even with the channel being practically dead, we somehow made it back to 500. Huzzah! So with that in mind, I thought I couldn't leave you guys wanting forever, and I've been very busy over the last few weeks, but I've managed to get myself 2 days off, so what I'm going to do is record some footage. And what I'm going to be looking at in this little video is my picks for the top 5 weapons in the game. Now, so the video isn't just top 5 straight and curved swords, I've decided to set the limitation of I'm only allowed to pick 1 weapon per class. How I'm going to be looking at these weapons is I'm going to be looking at their attack speed, their range, their usability of the weapon arts, the recovery on them, and if or not they have some useful gimmicks such as poise, or maybe some special properties such as a slightly different moveset, or maybe a very unique weapon art as previously mentioned. I'm also going to be looking at the synergies with how they work with other stuff, and this is going to be strictly at 125, so if a build is better at say 150, but it doesn't quite work at 125, then I wouldn't be able to consider that a top weapon. Also, for people who often like to bring it up, I'm often asked what I think is the best invasion weapons and how does that compare to dueling. Honestly, in my opinion, and this is an opinion here, so hold the freak out, I think that invasions and duels have the exact same weapon tiering. The only difference is in invasions you're fighting multiple people who are probably not PvPers, which is why weapons such as ultras are actually quite useful because you can just mash R1 through multiple people attacking you. But if you ended up invading 3 duelists, so that's 3 people who know how to hard counter every poise weapon, you're just going to be in 3 times the trouble, so it's not really as efficient to tier those. So with that in mind, let's start going into this and let's start looking at the tiers of how I think which are the top weapons. At number 5 is the S-Stock, and no, I haven't picked it for the memes. This might seem like a controversial pick for me because rumour has it that I absolutely hate the S-Stock. However, that's not the case. I've just always believed the S-Stock to be overhyped. So when we actually look at this weapon objectively, it is a very fast weapon. Pre-speed nerf, it was probably one of the best weapons in the game. It has an amazing one-handed moveset, which means it has the added strength of being able to combine it with a shield, a crossbow, the dragon head shield, or any sort of offhand that you might feel like it. It's almost more efficient to use it one-handed than it is two-handed, which makes it perfect for a turtle play style setup. Like I said, it has very quick speed, so it's very good at punching people. It's ideal to go over shield to turtle, and just choose at when to pick your opponent apart. The damage on the S-Stock and the length is the best of all of the rapiers, so that's why it is the best in there. And S-Stock, well, not the S-Stock, but rapiers in general are definitely a top 5 weapon class, even if I think they're a straight downgrade to, say, the straight sword. Looking at this one, the strengths that we have with this, like I said, is the speed. You can combo from roll catching on the weapon art. You can shield poke to get a quicker R1 than you would do from a standard R1. The R2s have a nice delay which can catch the odd parry spammer, which is quite useful, and it is quick enough to get a single poke in and roll out of the way of a poised weapon, which makes it very useful with a crossbow because you can get a poke, roll out of the way, and then get a shot off, so you're doing a lot more damage. It's ideal for Leo rings on a physical build. However, when it comes to the weaknesses, the S-Stock has incredibly poor tracking. The second R1 pretty much will not track anyone moving. You have to stagger your hits because someone can very easily roll or just circle backstab you like you had a poised weapon. It is surprisingly easy to get that off. The speed of it is slightly slower than that of a curved sword, so you have to be mindful of that. The shield poke does make up for it, but you have to be careful. If you get hit while shield poking, you do take a lot of damage and a lot of stagger. The running attack, although it is seemingly fast, it has a lot of startup and a lot of recovery, meaning if you miss it, your opponent is going to be very easily able to get behind you, get 2 hits, or possibly a backstab. It is incredibly easy to punish the running attack on this. It's not a katana like a washing pole where it's got almost no recoverability and it's virtually impossible to punish. It is very easy to punish this. You also have to be careful not to get too happy. Because the weapon is fast, you can sometimes attack into a poise weapon without meaning to when you're looking to hit it between the recovery frames. Prior to the speed nerf, the S-Stock was doing incredibly well in tournaments, but since the speed nerf it has kind of faded from any sort of significant tournament status, although there have been 2 notable players on tournament status that have been on PS4. The first one of which famously chugged me after losing 5 in a row, which was once a video on the previous channel, and someone else who's been doing quite well in tournaments. When we played, he did manage to get a win on me, but just barely, and then he took several losses because it is very easy to counter. An S-Stock basically has one mode, which is backpedal and then poke. if sometimes you make a mistake, like you can't get overconfident, as you can see here in the background, I tried to attack at the wrong times and I traded into it, and it wasn't because he reacted, because you can't really reactively trade with an S-Stock. I made the mistake of attacking into his attack, but at the same time, because of the shield, it is very easy to come back, and that's why the S-Stock is at number 5. At number 4, I had to go with the Corvian Scythe. Now, I know that this obviously created a lot of hubbub previously when Dramatic said that he believed the Scythe was a meta-contending weapon, and not just any meta-contending weapon. He believed it to be the best meta-contending weapon. The reasons he had believed this was because if you play just a completely passive playstyle where you only stagger singular R1 so you can't be punished very easily, you use a project heal build which has since been nerfed, you can constantly recover health whilst applying damage to your opponent who can't block. Now, because of this, we did the Dramatic Challenge. A lot of people freaked out and they refused to fight it. However, a lot of people did fight it. There was 5 notable people that beat it, but these are also people that have beaten Dramatic even when he's used a Pontic Knight Curve Sword in recent times. So, although a lot of people think it's trash, this actually went on to win the World Tournament on PlayStation 4, where it beat the PC champion and it beat probably one of the best Curve Sword players in the entire game, although some people are questioning how much effort he put into that. Onto the strengths of this weapon. The staggered R1 actually has a disjointed hitbox, meaning it hits further and a little bit faster than the visual cue of it. The second R1 has a very poor tracking, so you can't just mash R1 if you miss that first one. If they roll for that first one, if you're throwing that second one out, you might be getting backstabbed just like the S-Stock. In fact, it shares a lot of properties with the S-Stock. It's very good one-handed running attack, although it does not have the pseudo 3-hit combo that it does. Two-handed, which is you can R1, then you can go into an R2 to true combo, and then if they make a panic roll or try to trade, a further R1 comes out very quickly and it will combo if your opponent panic rolls or tries to hit you, which then allows you to repeat it. One-handed, you can do this with an R1, a jump attack, then an R1. The Corvian Scythe also has a lot of range. It can actually outrange the fire on the Dragon Head shield, and a lot of greatsword, which makes it a very good matchup against, say, a greatsword. If you know how to attack between the poise frames, you can punish just about every swing very easily from a safe distance. You can outreach, like I said, Dragon Head, most straight swords, and then you can just really apply pressure. I like to combine this with a crossbow because it just adds to that range. When your opponent starts playing passive because they are trying to use rolling around because of the staggered R1s, because they know that you can't just mash it like you can with a straight sword or a curved sword, where if they try to roll around you, they're going to be taking a lot of damage. So having a crossbow adds that little bit of extra pressure where you can shoot an exploding bolt to the floor and you can stun them if they're just constantly rolling around you to then set them up for more hits, or even if they try to back off to range. It is very, very useful. Even against stuff like the dreaded split leaf, which in the arena can pretty much one-shot people, you can outrange it very easily if you space it right. It's actually become one of my favourite casual weapons to use. Like I said, this does have some weaknesses. The two-handed running attack is pretty terrible, although it's not bad on speed, it's just the tracking's to be desired. Like I said, the one-handed does make up for it, but it loses a little bit of speed with that big arc. Mashing R1 can lead to some troubles, but that's why you go for the stagger ones. The shield piercing, although it is nice, you have to be careful with it, because if you hit a single hit on a shield, your opponent can very easily set up parry your second hit or actually circle backstab you, which has happened to me in the past. Some of the weaknesses with this is very easy to overcome by just having an offhand dagger, something just very quick to surprise people with who are trying to just roll every singular hit, because it can become quite annoying. Not as bad as, say, you're using a poise weapon or halberd, but it is noticeable when you're using the scythe, so it's very nice to have something to back up with it. I know a lot of people will feel like, you can't really say a weapon's a top 10 if you're making allowances for the weaknesses, but at the same time, when we talk straight swords, we talk S-Stock, we're allowed to combine it with a shield, we're allowed to combine it with a crossbow or dragon head. So doing that with the scythe, in my opinion, absolutely fine. It does not take anything away from the weapon because it is the main focus. It's just some small little counters that you can get in by adding a crossbow, a parry tool, or a dagger. It just really helps make it shine. Because, like I said, the scythe itself is a very methodical weapon. You're going to be trying to pick your opponent apart, finding your openings. Against, like, even the straight sword matchup, if you play it right, it is very easy to win. You just got to not panic roll, pick your openings, take your time, and go for it. And you have to overcome your weaknesses yourself. If your opponent's playing too aggressively, you can back them up with the dagger. If they're just rolling around you, you can catch them with the crossbow. And then again, just even the staggered R1s are absolutely amazing at shield chipping, and you can outrange most weapons very easily. As you can see going on here, against this guy with a straight sword, just ripped apart. At number 3, I probably am using what is considered the king of the arena. It is the answer to the question, why do I need 40 vigor? And that is because the split leaf will one-shot you if you don't. Basically, this thing has an amazing combo, which is R1, Weapon R, R1, or R2, but R1 is safer and it hits 4 times, meaning you're more likely to pop tiers and therefore get the kill. This can do anywhere between 900 and 1300 damage depending on your opponent's stats. It is phenomenal, especially in the arena when people don't have embered health, meaning if they don't have that 40 vigor with all your health stacking rings, they're not going to have that 1500 HP, and you probably will kill them from a single hit. The strengths of this weapon is it does have poise when two-handed. To block another halberd, you're going to be needing very high 40s, but to go for straight swords, it's kind of low 40s to go through everything. Same with rapiers and any other small weapons, and even scythes. The good part about this is, like I said, the spacing is absolutely amazing. You can cancel the weapon up very easily to poise reset, so if you've been hit you can go back to full poise health, and then you can roll out. If you stag your R1s, you're going to overcome the weakness of other poise weapons, which is your opponent rolling through and backstabbing your second or third hit. You still need to be very wary of that when using this, because 2 R1s are very easy to backstab. What you want to do is just take your opponent apart, space them, take your opportunities, catch their panic rolls, and then use that weapon art for incredible damage. And if you need to make a trade on a fast weapon, do it. That's what this is for. You take a trade, you give your opponent 11 to 1300 damage back, and it is just absolutely amazing. It is so damaging and is so quick. Weaknesses of this weapon is the one-handed moveset is trash. It has practically no tracking. Even a single R1 one-handed is very easy to backstab. You dream of a second R1, you're getting backstabbed. The R2s two-handed aren't exactly anything to demand about. The spin attack is very easy to punish, has a lot of recovery. The weapon art, like I said, absolutely amazing. You can use it to poise reset. You can cancel it very early into the spin to be just hit and roll out. I've seen people who have only used weapon art just to chip and then roll out. But you have to be careful when using weapon art R2. If you don't confirm that hit and you miss, you are very easy to backstab, very easy to punish. It also is very hard to get the last hit with a halberd. The running attack, though it's better than a greatsword, it's still very easy to avoid, and it's very hard to apply pressure, which is why, again, I like to have a crossbow to get that last hit. Whereas with a scythe, I like the crossbow to stop people who are just rolling into you and around you. With the halberd, such as the split leaf, I like it for last hit because people can just run away, and it is very hard to catch them down if you didn't kill them. If you do 1300 damage to someone, they're left on a couple of HP, they're going to run, and they're not going to want to give you the win because they're just mad. And eventually, with a 3-minute time limit, you're going to catch someone with an exploding bolt to the floor or a splintering bolt. You're not going to avoid that forever. Again, like I said before, this doesn't have the weakness of the scythe. If someone's just constantly rolling into you, just a little bit of that helicopter, you go for that helicopter, they're going to get caught. You can just hold that L2 and eventually you will catch them. It does also have that nice little thing, because you can cancel it quite early, you can often get a hit in with the weapon art and then roll out the way of a poised weapon, even if you've swung slightly after them, which is just absolutely amazing. As you can see in the background here, I'm keeping close to my opponent. I'm just punching everything he does. I'm moving around his hits, hitting him back, waiting for my openings. I don't need to be aggressive, or I can choose to be. If I force my opponent to roll, I can set them up to get them with another hit. Against something like a runaway spellcaster, which is almost impossible for this to deal with because you can't really punish rolls with a halberd. Crossbow, absolutely fantastic. Look at that. You just walk around the shots and you punish everything. Shields can be quite a problem for this, but you can Dark Infuse it. I wouldn't recommend it. Some of the earlier clips you saw that I did have it Dark Infused, but the damage difference is ridiculous. I would say go for strength and just punish their swings. It's better than doing chip damage with the shield. It's just punish what they do. Even against other poised weapons, it's very easy to punish the hyper armor because of the spacing. And because of that, this is definitely a true number 3, and it is probably one of the best weapons in the game to use in the arena because just so much damage. Mwah. At number 2, I have picked a straight sword. Now this one was a little bit of a toss-up. There are two straight swords that work equally well on the same build, which is the Gotthards and the Lothric Knight Sword. Gotthards have the range, whereas Lothric Knight Sword has the critical and the damage. The reason I'm picking the Lothric Knight Sword over the Gotthards is I like to backstab people a lot. I like to backstab punish people for making mistakes, and I also like to use the Dragon Head a lot. So if you're using the Dragon Head to confirm that first hit, you can easily get those 2 or 3 hits afterwards, which is why the LKS is just better to me. It's also because I prefer the weapon art. The weapon art on the Lothric Knight Sword when you're using, say, a Black Knight Shield or a Millwood Shield is you get 60% damage reduction and an insane hyper armor to go for a thrust attack or a shield splitter. Shield splitter pretty much never hits, but the thrust attack weapon art, I think is fantastic. Like with the rapiers, straight swords are better one-handed. The two-handed moveset is the exact same as great swords, so it is trash, whereas the one-handed moveset is probably one of the best in the game. People just can't roll around you. Even if you're timing it, you're going to get caught. You have to be careful against poised weapons because, again, you start, because your weapon's fast, sometimes you'll attack into their attacks without meaning to, because just on reaction. This can lead to some troubles. So let's talk about the strengths of this weapon. Best one-handed moveset in the game, which means it can be combined with shields, crossbows, offhand weapons, dragon head. It's just whatever you want, really. Even a parry tool is just fantastic to pair with anything. Back when you used to have the pre-nerfed S-Dog, I even used a rapier in my offhand, so I could parry and poke much quicker. It's hard to talk too much about this. There are practically no weaknesses to this weapon at all. Dark build is the best build to use it. It's got insane chip. You just gotta be careful you don't get 2R1 happy and get parries to spam. But if you know how to pick people apart, you will. This is number 2. Dark build, beautiful. At number 1, I have picked the Demon's Scar. You knew it was going to be that. Curved swords are the best standalone weapon in the game. Two-handed moveset, they are the king of Dark Souls. And this was a toss-up between the Pontiff Knight Curved Sword, the Demon's Scar, and possibly people who like their chip damage, the Scimitar. The difference is, Pontiff Knight Curved Sword is a pure physical weapon which you can use on a 26 strength build and a 40 dex. And you're going to be doing about 392 on the AR, and it is fantastic. It's got the longest reach of any curved sword, very usable weapon art, very, very, very good running attack, best pressure in the game. Two-handed, you can just walk at your opponent, panic roll, you'll always catch them with the R1s. 2 hits, damage, just keep going. Like, I've seen people who will take 2 hits, and then some with a straight sword will go for that R2, and they'll just press R1, and they'll just start mashing into them, and they'll get it out because it's the fastest moveset in the game. Dark Scimitar has actually fairly low damage, which is kind of why I don't like it, and the reach is the exact same as the Demon's Scar. So because of that, as the OG Pyromancer, I just couldn't not pick the Demon's Scar. Strengths of the Demon's Scar is the R1 true combos into Black Flame, so even though the Demon's Scar has dagger damage, but pure fire, R1 into Black Flame is huge. You can then pseudo combo into Weapon Art, then into R2, and then into a further R1, which you can do about 11 to 12 to 1300 damage, depending on your opponent's resistances. So you have massive wombo combos. What's also amazing is the Weapon Art can't be parried, nor can Black Flame, meaning only that first hit in the combo is parryable. So your opponent's going to be taking a lot of damage. You have to be careful against shield. If they block the Weapon Art of a shield, they can actually circle backstab the flip. So don't do that. Additionally, you can combine this with other stuff. Because it is a dark build, a dark dagger, I absolutely love that as a backup. It helps deal with any poised weapon because it completely stun locks them. It'll backstab for about 1000 damage, if not more. And yeah, the quick step is amazing. It also helps with the washing pole, which is probably the only weapon that's really got a good chance against curved swords in that matchup. Spell-wise, like I said, Black Flame, probably the best pyromancy in the game, with the best standalone pyromancy being Fire Surge. Black Flame, the best combo pyromancy. Fire Surge is just so good at pressure. It only does between 50 and 80 chip damage, depending on your opponent's build. The more strength they have, the more fire resistance they have. But this is how you open up defensive players. If your opponent's playing just passive only defensive, you can just chip at them with Fire Surge and force them to get aggressive. Hell, even to finish them, you can just keep backing up, rolling away, chip Fire Surge, and it causes your opponent to not be able to play passively. When they're constantly taking damage for about a third of an R1, it's very hard for them to just back off. The third spell I've gone with is Chaos Bet Vestiges, which is actually 2 slots because I only use 24 attunement on my Pyromancer build. The reason is because Chaos Bet Vestige can punish so much. Every poise weapon, it can punish their R1 on reaction. Crossbow reloads, you can punish. Running attacks, you can punish. And if you hit it close, it will then true combo into an R1 into a Black Flame. Meaning you'll be doing 1200 damage, maybe more on just that. I'd just love to absolutely throw this in people's faces and do incredible damage to punish most things. Like any R2 they do, you're going to punish. A charge attack, you're going to punish. A panic roll, you punish. Hyper armor, you punish. A heal, you punish. It's just such big damage. Invasions, team games, it's even better. So let's talk about the moveset. The standing R1s are so fast in this. It's faster than the S-Dog. It's got almost as good tracking as straight swords. It's absurdly good. Like how the actual moveset didn't get nerfed across the board, I don't know. They nerfed the heavy curve swords, which makes them pretty much useless because they have no forward momentum. But the light ones that have the little flip, still fantastic. The running attack, absolutely amazing. It's got incredibly good tracking, it is very fast. It's not got as almost impossible to punish recovery as the washing pole, but it is still damn good. Unless you go short, you're gonna beat it, you're gonna punish it. For a Pyromancer, Demon Scar definitely the best in the slot. Onyx Blade, trash compared. Witch's Lock's trash compared. An infused weapon, pretty trash compared because it can cast, so it has less of a delay between attacking and casting than say a straight sword because you're switching between your hands and your pyromancy stuff. Again, you can go from Fire Surge to R1 very quickly, and you can just mix your spells up with your melee so efficiently. I use a offhand Spellvine, so that way I don't need to use the Sage's Ring. So that way I can have my 2 damaging rings, Prisoner's Chain, and a Ring of Favour, so I can make a very beastly 125 build with 40 Vigor, 30 Endurance, 24 Attunement. I can have the minimum that I need for Demon Scar, as long as my maximum damage. So yeah, just absolutely fantastic. You have to be careful. You can be doing 1000 damage very easily from one combo, or if not more, but at the same time you are super squishy. Because you don't have much of it and you have no strength, your flat defenses are very low. So most poise weapons will 4-shot you, which technically means 2-shot you because every weapon 2-hit combos. Most fast weapons will do it in 6 or 7, so you have to be careful. If you're not landing your big combos, you're going to be falling behind in damage. It is the glass cannon build, and it is my favourite build in the game. It is my main build. It's what I prefer to use, it's what I like to use, and it's always kind of what I've been aiming for when it comes to it, as it's just a pure melee damaging Pyromancer, and for me, yeah, that's number 1. I honestly think that this is the best that you can get, and these weapons are my top 5 picks. Let me know what you think below. Of course, your own biases will change it. Like my personal bias, heavily based on this. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you agree with. Let me know what you disagree with. Or let me know if you saw any fights that you liked in the background. Till next time.